Listen, man, I had to pinch one off just to be here on time. Okay, I don't know what it is about my sphincter, but every single time
I thought you meant jerk off.
Yeah, I thought you
right,
I thought you meant.
right
like,
before
okay,
we
good.
start these pods, all like it's like clockwork. It's like, oh, 10 minutes to go for financial junkies. Chris has to go take a shit, and I'm just like, God damn it, what do I do? So
Chris,
I never
you
have
get-
a complete
you
shit
get
because of this
nervous?
show.
I'm pretty sure pinch one off does not mean shit.
No, it's just my body is starting to like regulate itself. So I usually just wake up, get a little bit like hop in the shower or whatever, and then get on financial junkies. Then I start work because I start work at 12 today. And yeah, I'm like my body's getting used to that schedule. So this is like my morning time. For you guys, it's your go to sleep time. For me, this is morning. So yeah, I think my body's just used to that. So
That's cool. Where's Carlos? You coming today?
he's taking a shit probably, bro.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, nothing happened. What happened today?
Yeah, nothing. I mean,
Nothing interesting. I think we're gonna talk about. I was figuring Palantir is a good topic for today.
yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
have you seen that AIP match? But all right, Vitaly, you've been too busy on Enphase, but they released a new video today, and it was pretty.
I'm sure it's off the chain.
Hey, Carlos.
What's yapping about?
We're talking about Palantir.
Palantir.
That's all there's to talk about.
We're actually
what'd you
talking
say?
about Chris's poops, but
What are we
you know,
talking
they
about?
want to talk about Palantir. It's fine too.
Oh, all right, I got you.
Yo,
Bye.
if Chris said I'm gonna pinch one off, what does that mean to you?
Pinch one off. That's pinching a loaf.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
That,
See?
that doesn't mean like
Carlos gets it.
jerking off.
I think everything to you means that. Okay? I think we
Yeah,
should
but
check your
Vitaly
check his
brings
phone.
up jerking
That's
off.
when I say I'm
He
taking a
goes
dump.
right. He goes right into the toilet.
He
Right.
brings up jerking off more than any
Oh
of us.
God! When I say I'm taking a dump, I mean I'm jerking off. If I say I'm jerking off,
What?
I'm taking a dump.
What? What are you jerking your butthole? Like, how does
I
that
just
work?
think-
What?
I just think
What the
like,
hell are
why,
you
guys?
talking
Why? We're like,
All right.
why?
Yo, do you remember? Okay, like,
All right. We have
how-
one lady here. We got to be.
Yeah.
do you, Kelly doesn't count.
112 people offended now.
Do you remember how
That's what the
old
link
you
says.
were when you realized you could pinch it off? I remember exactly where I was.
Wait, is
Pinch loaves?
this
Well,
poopy?
what are we talking about? We gotta generationally. We have to correct the vernacular. Okay, pinching is not
No one
that.
I'm
pinches
using
anything.
Vitaly's definition of pinching, not
You mean okay? So choking the chicken. is what you
choking the
said.
chicken. Yes, choking the chicken. I was in 6th grade, I think. No, 7th grade or something.
Beating your meat? That's the word. That's what I know.
Yes.
Beating meat.
All right.
Wow.
Oh, you guys are so old. You don't even fucking remember. At least I remember my first time. Goodness.
Yeah, we're not the ones that are like,
Yeah, but I
oh
don't-
God.
right? Because we don't need to.
You know these guys. There's like this new vernacular that they use. It's like, yo, man, on God. I'm like, what? It's like, what does that mean?
That means like that's
yeah,
their way of saying I swear to God.
yeah. I'm
What
like,
is it?
why did you say? Swear to God. Like, is it really that hard? On God. I'm like, huh?
Wait. Have you heard of dead ass?
Yeah, I heard
That
it.
dead ass? Are you
yeah.
kidding me? That's older than me and Vitaly.
That's a New York thing too.
That's enough. Yeah.
Billy Jack says, "Well, it's the 4 smartest guys in my living room talking about." Yo, Billy, I've never seen you.
Doesn't
on
that
this
make you want to
podcast.
join our Patreon? Like, could you imagine what we say there?
Billy Jack? We got V.
No, it's pretty much the same thing.
Right. But
And Unexpected Fire says, "I totally trust the financial advice from experts like this."
sex
You
person.
should, because have you ever heard Wall Street people talk in private?
CNBC.
They are just
know.
as bad. No, I'm not talking about CNBC.
The worst.
I'm talking
Dude,
about
they-
actual guys on Wall Street. They're nothing.
Dude,
but
they
hoax.
horrendous.
They do lines of coke off of strippers' asses, bro. Like, if you go to like what's the place in
I mean, you
Queens?
can't,
Forgot what the place is. The
What's
strip
the place
club
in Queens
is
I used to
called.
go to? Guys, tell me.
Wiggles. Wiggles? No, Wiggles was
didn't that place close?
Yeah, it did. It was Mafia. They had mob there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wiggles. Okay.
All right, so let's get into first topic of the day. Everyone, we got to get this over with. Everyone wants us to talk about it first. Then we'll get to Google and Microsoft.
Like and subscribe.
Oh yeah, do that first,
Subscribe.
everybody. Like
Yeah,
and
man.
subscribe.
Also,
I'm
Hit
everyone
that
needs,
bell.
everyone needs. I'm going to plug my Instagram in a second. I need followers on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. Okay, and then like and subscribe. The Twitter, the Twitters, Discords. I'll put all that in the description as we're in the chat.
I think we have an Instagram too, Carlos. Maybe we should add that in.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you guys use Instagram at all? Do you post on it?
We did. There's a reasons. We'll talk offline.
Okay.
Why I kind of stopped on the IG. Yeah, so we do have one.
Okay, so Enphase, it was down about 17% after hours, going from 224 to 180 2. It ended, let's see right here. It's 10 o'clock. Ended at 184, so it's down.
But did you see when it tanked? It was like, did you smell that in the air? It smelled like a discount to me. And you guys smell that? Smell like a discount.
That's what we have to talk about. So Vitaly and I live streamed on the Freelance Finance channel. It was about 200 people showed up.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Kind of crazy.
I was trying to join.
Great. The Enphase community is definitely growing. So thank you guys.
Yeah, just to bring it back in the day, me and Carlos would live stream an earnings call. Obviously, before we met you guys, and I think like 10 people max. 10 people.
I mean, we have to be honest. It was a meeting. It wasn't a myth. We're just siphoning off of your.
That's okay. No.
Off of your work.
Off of and off of Chris's Twitter following. He's amassed quite a number of people following him on Twitter.
Chris's tweets, not only do I pay attention and read all of Chris's tweets because he's tweeting some fire every day, they're getting views. Like Chris is gonna be a finance guru on Twitter, like a finance.
Yeah, no, the dude adds value.
Yeah, no, Chris's Twitter is amazing. And I'm gonna put that in the description as well. All right. So Enphase. Let me get your raw thoughts because me and Vitaly talked about it. What were your thoughts when you saw things fall? If you got a chance to see the numbers, there's a good dip, there's a buying opportunity. You're worried about it. What do you think about it?
Well, if you were on the Discord, you were Patreon.
I did not. I'm in the Discord. I didn't check it though. But
no, but on the Patreon,
if you were on our Patreon, you'd see.
I'm
our
in
buys.
your Patreon Discord.
Yeah, I didn't buy much. I just bought I think I bought 16 shares because I still
why did you buy the dip?
Why? Because I was waiting for it to go into 200.
So nothing concerned you about why it fell today?
No. I think.
Well, you didn't hear the earnings call, right? You didn't.
I had the stream on, and so yeah. I mean, you guys watched the whole thing. I basically watched the whole thing. I didn't hear too dedicated up in here, but I heard the most of it, and I tried to pay attention on the Q&A because that's where I feel like you really get information. That's when he's talking off book. He's just just spin. So I didn't get all the details, but no, I'm not worried about it because I believe in the industry. And I think a lot of what we're seeing is it's all macro stuff, man. It's just all macro. It's just a lot of volatility. So no, I'm not concerned about the company long term, and I don't have as many shares as I want. So I'm fine. But it was interesting. I saw that some guy posted on the live stream that the rise in rate hikes has not actually been impacting sales as much as they thought. It's like an extra, $10 a month.
Okay, Chris, your thoughts? Then we'll get to Vitaly.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, when I saw Tesla's weakness, I kind of suspected that we would see a similar weakness. And this goes along anything that's consumer related, which is high dollar items that you have to purchase. Like I'm not talking about spending $100 on a small consumer item that people are not going to finance, right? You're talking about large purchases, which they're going to weigh cost and benefits of. Right now, the equation is just really hard for people to make. And solar right now, as it stands with the current interest rate regime, it's just not as palatable to some consumers. Now, this is me just saying based off numbers. I'm sure that there are other people who are seeing still strong demand in certain regions, right? I think one of the comments that we had when you guys were live streaming, because I caught it afterward, was that they're an installer and they haven't seen demand drop off nearly as much. So I mean, this could mean that it's very regional, right? So I would say that this company, if you can get it at a big enough of a discount, it's definitely worth getting in. And I'm not particularly as bullish as Vitaly and Carlos at any price because their vision is much larger than mine. Mine is just, hey, if this company gets to a certain point where it's oversold, then it's definitely something that I want to pick up because if you look at their raw numbers, these are good earnings. You're talking about a company that's generating a shit ton in cash.
Only 720 million.
Yeah, and
it's to $1 billion in 1 quarter.
They're heading towards $1 billion. That is going on.
Yeah, and it's growing cash flow, right? The only thing
I just want to point out last year, just to your point, they were making 440 million Q1. Now they're making 730 or so, and it's a problem.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's just the valuation sometimes has to be weighed against the macro environment that we're currently in. And then also at the same time, the risk, you have to adjust for risk-free return. So if you can get a risk-free 5% return by just parking your money in some treasuries, even right now, if you look at a corporate bond, like that's double B, triple B, you're looking at a good 10 to 12% return. So the question to me is institution-wise, because remember, the people that are going to be moving the needle are not the retail investors. It's the institutions. So if the institutions on the other side are like, hey, listen, there's a less risky trade-off right now, that's where I'm going to park my money. It's not going to be in Enphase. It's going to be in something that I know I'm going to be able to get get my return that I need in order to satisfy my clients. So that's one of the things that's holding back a lot of companies too. So when you have a company that's super high in PE and the macro is slowing down, it's worth just being a little bit cautious on it, and just, like, especially during earnings, because I think the Tesla earnings was like a wake up call for a lot of industries that are heavily reliant on consumer credit in order to operate. And I think we're going to see companies that are particularly in that specific type of industry, they're going to be impacted the most. Businesses that rely on credit, they're the ones that are going to be impacted. I think the one good thing is that, and we can transition this into Google.
Well, hold on,
Google's
we got to get some more raw thoughts on the numbers on Enphase. Vitaly, what were your raw thoughts?
Well, we'll bring up the super chat first, right? Someone gave $2, even though it should be 5 minimum.
Hey, yo, look, dude, hold on. Strongman Personal Finance is in our.
I was wondering, is this the real Strongman, the one who wears no shirt? The guy who wears no shirt?
The guy who wears no shirt, and he yells.
Dude, put him on. Only if you're without your shirt.
Strongman is one of my favorite YouTubers. Well, I'll just say it outright.
And also remember, Strongman, I know people have a public perception of him. I did a podcast with him. He's the nicest guy ever. He's such a nice guy.
I totally believe you.
He's a great guy.
I've seen a lot of his podcasts, and I like people who are confident and don't wear clothes.
So you get to pinch a chicken or something as a result.
If you can only pick one, Tesla or Enphase, this is tough now because they're both tanking. So I think
we know what you're gonna pick.
Well, we know, but I'm going to pick Enphase only because of the market cap that it's at, 20 billion or whatever it is. It's just an easier double, in my opinion. So I would pick it for that reason. Okay,
so Vitaly, you and I heard the earnings. Was there anything that was particularly bearish to you? And was there anything that was more bullish for you? You bought 100 shares.
We talked about it earlier. I don't know how many people here again, but basically, look, the long-term thing of this is bullish. And I've said this over and over. The short-term, nobody knows. And rates, Chris, we were going back and forth on rates. Now we know that rates actually do have a material effect, meaning a quarter ago wasn't quite positive when I listened to the call. It seemed much more bullish when Badri was talking. Now it's clear that rates are having an effect. The installations are slowing down, meaning quarter over quarter, not year over year. So that's happening. I think, what did it go up, the revenue? 1% or 2%, something insignificant for Enphase. So if that continues this year, that's very possible. And I still think we're going back to like double-digit growth. I don't think that's going to continue like 1%. But having said that, quarter two, Badri said it's not going to be a great quarter. They are going to do better, but it's not going to be great. But if you look at the facts of, and Chris, I don't know if you heard this, but they're increasing their capacity at the end of the year to 10 million a quarter. And currently it's around 6.5 million microinverters a quarter. There's no reason to build out 6 manufacturing plants if you don't expect to sell that stuff. There's just no reason, not for a company like this. They know what's going on with the industry. They understand how rates affect their industry. So if they're building out this infrastructure, if they're building out to support 10 million, and I'll bring up a numbers thing I have. I actually don't think they're going to sell. At the end of the year, they're going to have a capacity of 30 million, going from I believe a capacity of like 15 or so, maybe 18 million to 30 million micros that they can make. Basically doubling capacity. And next year it's going to 40 million. But anyway, I'm not even estimating that. I never did, in fact. I always estimated they were going to sell around 20 to 22 million micros. But what can happen in this environment, even if they sell those micros, this is the negative maybe, is that there could still be a compression of PE. There could still be a compression of the price of sales, whatever you got, metric you're looking at. So that could still happen. Now, to me, I've always said this is a massive opportunity if this happens. I've been saying this for 8 months. Okay. So I've never strayed away from that message that this is a growth stock that's super volatile, that goes up double, drops 50%. And this happens all the time in its history. Take a look at the chart. I could show you the chart if people want to see it, but this always happens in this stock's history. So if it goes down to 150, this is not unheard of for the stock to drop by half. This has happened multiple times in its history if you go back for the last decade. So anyone not paying attention, like Gabe, maybe Strongman Personal Finance, those people are not paying attention to the growth story of solar at 3% compounding. So if that still is intact, if that is still going to play itself out, that solar is growing at 50% compounded a year in America, maybe not this year or in the world, then I think Enphase has a bright future, and I am happy to buy. And that's why I bought 18,000 and change today.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, you believe in a long-term vision. So, like, yes, we can acknowledge Gabe was correct yesterday saying that it likely has a chance to go down, interest rates, blah, 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 blah. But he doesn't believe in the long-term vision. He's a short-term trader. He was not shorting it, so he didn't make any money off it. But Vitali's a long-term vision of it. I have a long-term vision of it. I don't know if it's $1 trillion company, but I do know that solar
Doesn't have to be. It's 20 billion. Doesn't have to be.
it's 20 billion. And it's like, and there's a reason there is a to pay a premium for something overvalued if they're growing at what their growth rate is. Now let's see if they continue that and sustain that. I think we got to give them a couple quarters. But I listened to the earnings call today and they said, look, America's tough because the interest rates are rough there, but they're expanding into other parts of Europe. They're making Baudry said 2023 is the year of making more products. There's if Vitaly made up a good point. If Enphase had a tough quarter, what is SolarEdge, going to have in terms of their quarter? So if you're long on the company because you believe the story, then you're long on the company, and that's it. And if it gets down to 150, 130, if we see that route, then maybe that's a really great opportunity.
One of the things before you go is that there is a much bigger world out there than just the United States. I think
100%.
we have sometimes looked at companies from the lens of just the US. But there are a lot of economies right now also transitioning to cleaner energy. People are moving. Like someone in our chat yesterday, I think actually said like, oh, Enphase is growing a lot in India. And I think they actually have some manufacturing in India and design in India as well. And this is like a country of 1.6 billion people with probably some of the best access to solar in the world. Because, depending on where
talked
you are.
about Europe today. He said they're expanding like crazy in Europe.
So when it comes down to it, this is still a relatively small total. It's a much larger total addressable market than. It's a much larger total addressable market. And these guys are whatever they're doing in terms of their product. I think that's the most important thing. And from everything that I'm seeing regarding their product, everyone loves it. That it's a quality product. They don't have nearly the amount of issues that they do with some of the other competitors. One of the things that worried me was that there were Chinese competitors that I've seen on Alibaba and AliExpress that claim that they are that they provide micro inverters and everything else. But what I've seen is that in terms of reliability, these guys have actually been the best. And the way that they've done it is good. The customer service is phenomenal. So in terms of business operating and their product, they're top of the line in their core industry. So the other one quick thing, Vitaly, and then you can go. This is once again a very similar thing to Tesla, where if you grow the number of production facilities, you're also reducing the per unit cost. I think once you get per unit cost down, you can maintain a healthy profit margin, right? And at the same time, be able to supply out there and be able to effectively lower prices, but still maintain a nice, healthy return. So I think right now they're scaling up, which is good. That's a good sign.
Don't buy your inverters from Wish. You know what I mean?
I'll just point this out real quick. I've been tracking it for a while. So besides this growth that it still seems to be happening, even if we slow down in terms of revenue.
What is the 2025 estimation you have? How many inverters?
Well, let me show you this. There's actual numbers and estimates here. So this is actually actual now. Some things were changed. So this is where the estimate come in. So last year, this is their growth, by the way, since 2017 to 22, from 2 million micros, which they became profitable during this time, but to 15 million, from 2 million to, you understand what I'm saying to you?
700%.
And it took a while. It took 2017 to 22. So not every year was perfect. You could see like 2017, 2018, that's the same amount of micros, 2019, 20, same amount of micros roughly. But when something like this is scaling and we're at the bottom of an S curve, it takes off on you. So right now when Chris says don't buy because it might be overvalued, I have better things to do, the problem is you don't know when this is going to take off. So here we have, this is what I'm estimating right now. And I actually lowered it a bit. So I've always been a little bit more conservative. I wasn't estimating 60, 70% forever. I was estimating here 35% growth in terms of micros. So I actually lowered it from 40 for this particular podcast. But 2023, I still expect them to sell over 20 million microinverters. And I think they've sold 5 million or so recently in this quarter. That was bad. So if they're selling 5 million in a bad quarter, can they not hit 20 million as the year progresses?
So they need to do 5 million every quarter to get 20 million for this year, correct?
Basically, correct. I think they sold 4.8 million. Someone can correct me, but somewhere around
9, I think it might be.
So yeah, but the one question I do have though in those numbers, you're estimating that the revenue per inverter is going up, and it looks like it's a substantial increase.
Well, no, the way I got this. First, let me just finish, and then I'll show you how I got it. I'll actually show you how it worked itself out. But here we go. Forget about this side for a second. Let's just look at the actual inverters. This is what's important. This is where the money comes in, right? So I know you're looking at this right here, but ignore that for a second. 2024, I'm assuming growth, if the rates do start coming down, I believe growth accelerates again. And I'm not even saying 70% growth or 50%. I'm saying it's probably going to start heading down. So to 2030, I'm estimating we go back from 40 to all the way 20% by 2030. But you can change these numbers as you want. Do 30%. You know, I'll make it easier. Let's see if you believe that or not. But 30%, 30%. I'll even change this 30%. Fine. Take a look what happens. 5 years, 2023, 20 million. Go 5 years, 2028. They're still selling 3 times or 4 times the amount of inverters, even if you start lowering the growth. So my point is they're going to be selling more product, not less, growing faster, increasing capacity. That leads to more revenue. That doesn't lead to less revenue, right? So this is where I actually don't want to get into this now because I'm still working on the spreadsheet, but this was the important section that if you just keep going out to 2030, they're going from 20 million to even 100 million in conservative numbers.
Here's
microinverters.
Here's one thing to consider though. If the solar panels get more efficient, you will need less Enphase inverters to get the same kilowatt hour system. So right now we have 350 watt panels. If they have say 500 watt panels, now I won't need 26 panels. I'll need 18. And so the amount of inverters per installation could go down.
It sounds like a good point, but I'm going to reject it right now because you and I both know as we added EVs to our charging, all of a sudden I got an electric bill again. I have solar on my roof, had zero bill. I added 2 EVs. I added a heat pump. All of a sudden my bill is now $500 during the winter again.
I do notice my bill went up as well, but I'm just saying the average, if the average person doesn't have a charger, if doesn't have an EV charger, still you need less inverters if the panels get more efficient. And that's one thing that does concern me.
They just have to expand to find different clients then, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the solar installer that did mine, he was telling me that they already have like 1,000-watt panels. They're just not releasing them yet. They're just slowly, working up to that. If you have 1,000-watt panels, I would need 9 panels in my house. I wouldn't need 26. That means I would only need 9 Enphase inverters instead of 26. That's a big difference. So I'm really happy to hear on the call. You guys didn't even talk about it. The amount of freaking EV charges that they sold. It was like
I didn't hear.
Dude, it was like 6,000, 6,000 one quarter, 8,900 the second quarter. They're selling a boatload of these EV chargers, man, which it's one of those things where once you get any one of those pieces, since their whole system is like solar.
Wait. So hold on. Carlos, just so that everyone in the viewer section knows, they bought a company called Clipper Creek, which makes EV charging EV chargers for your home. So they make level 2 chargers for your home. And they're actually, once again, leaders in terms of quality for those things. So I think a lot of people, especially if you're getting non-Tesla products, they're going to need infrastructure at home. And one of them that you can get is Clipper Creek. I've seen these things around a lot of mall parking lots, and I've seen them in residential parking lots. So just to clarify, because you guys were mentioning it, but I don't think the audience may know it if they don't.
This particular audience, I'm sure.
So in those numbers I showed you, by the way, those are microinverters. I'm actually not considering the rest of the business, which is small. Just like if we were to do Tesla valuation, I wouldn't put that, hey, robo-taxi is a thing, right? Seems ridiculous.
You should consider it. That would seem ridiculous not to.
You can't put it in a reasonable model and project out because we don't know yet.
You can section it off like with and without because you don't know what the.
But in those numbers I showed you was just if the microinverter business continued. And the one thing that's not in those numbers directly is what happens with those batteries as they increase capacity and production. So me and you know that they use microinverters in the batteries.
Well, they have to. It's
no.
not a micro. I don't.
No. They don't have to. Tesla doesn't use microinverters in their batteries. Nobody does. Enphase is making it all modular, where it uses around 8 or 12 or whatever of the microinverters. So that way they're even selling more. And once again, I don't care how they sell them, whether it's on your roof or it's through a battery. But as that business grows, those numbers explode just because the battery business uses microinverters. And I was only considering micros. That's it.
Oh, and the margins on the energy is higher.
So whatever happens, my point is I wasn't counting it. I wasn't counting the chargers. I wasn't counting the batteries. I'm just assuming that they're growing their solar microinverter business. That's what I was estimating there in those numbers. So my point is there's a whole bull case there that's playing out behind the scenes that I'm actually not taking into account right now.
Well, there's almost nothing that they sell that's not going to push the inverter business, right?
Right.
But it's the other products that they sell that get you into a moat. I mean, right now, that's one of the things. Look, when I have 2 of my friends that got solar since I've gotten solar, and I pushed the Enphase system on that, and they didn't want it. They liked the turnkey solution of Tesla. And I was like, did you compare the prices? Like, let me see the contract. I said, let me see and I looked at it, and it was more expensive than a comparable Enphase system. But they were just like, well, no, I like the system. They have a Tesla, and it just made sense. But Enphase has basically that same he was talking today on the call about essentially energy arbitrage, where you can have the battery making you money, right? This is what people not see. This is what they should be promoting, not videos and photos of the sun. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, of course.
Because they need that brand awareness, because they're at least one. I didn't realize this. They're actually 2 levels removed from the final customer. He was saying that most of their sales go to like not warehouses, but like dealers that then the solar installers buy from. Did you hear about that? And he was trying to improve there's a little section of that. So I didn't even realize that, which means like the end user, the customer, probably doesn't even know this company exists. It's only like the real researchers and investors.
Yeah, but as installers, I think he did mention that specifically, because as installers want to install a product like this and don't want to install something else where they have a truck roll, as we talk to these guys, then that's a big thing. They don't want to go and fix solar edge products. They don't want to waste their time. It costs them money and time. So if Enphase doesn't have them do that all the time, they're going to pick the easier thing also for themselves, besides the customer, which is it's just better for the customer.
It'd be interesting. Remember here he was talking on the call about that they're taking a specific period of time this quarter to train the installers on the new systems that they're coming out with. Wouldn't it be cool to go to that school for like a week?
I don't know if I want to go to that school.
I would want to see that. I used to be an alarm installer, like way back in the day. I worked in alarms, cameras. I'm actually like bonded and certified in New York City, and because we were doing all the camera systems in New York. Like I did all the cameras at JFK, all those pan tilt zooms, all the access control, all that stuff. And we went to the classes. You have to go to the classes. They're actually pretty fun. You meet some cool people there, and you learn. You learn some tech.
So
some nerdy shit.
Yeah. So I took.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say, if you want, we can talk about SLG now a little bit.
Well, I was gonna go.
If you guys want,
honestly, we gotta talk about the app of that article I sent.
Shouldn't we be talking about Google now and Microsoft?
Yes, we should. Okay, hold on. So first,
SLG.
Let's conclude Enphase, then we'll go to Google, Microsoft, then we'll do SLG, Chris, because people want to go to Microsoft. So Enphase overall, you both are still incredibly bullish. You both are buying the dip. Do you think we fall to the 150-ish range? You think that's very possible? Carlos, yes.
I think if we're under 170, possibility to 133.
What are we at right now? Why don't we bring up a chart? Let's bring up the chart. I want to know what the RSI is, and I want to know.
We don't got to go through all of that right because we got to talk about.
Well, I'm gonna look.
Okay, you look at it. Yeah. Me and Vitaly. If anyone wants to see the actual chart analysis, Vitaly did like 10 minutes on it on the Freelance Finance channel. So just go to the last 10 minutes. We analyzed the whole thing.
Yeah, but the charts have changed since then, Mitt.
No. It doesn't update till tomorrow morning, by the way.
They changed. I'm just gonna look it up. I'm just curious for myself because I think we're gonna see it bleed over the week.
Okay, I actually don't think it's gonna bleed over the week as much as I think it's gonna get bought up. But you guys might be you've been in the stock.
Why do you think it's gonna get bought up?
Well, and this is naive analysis, but I've just seen it run up and down like a fucking hawk. Like it hasn't gone to 140 since March 2022 when I was in Vitaly's Tesla and he was telling me to buy it. I have a hard time believing the market and the people that like this stock are just going to let it sell off that much without grabbing some shares at 170, 165. But maybe I'm wrong.
People like us will keep buying, but it's not enough to buoy it though. I mean, if you look at,
I think Wall Street, if they see like a wounded duckling, I think they attack. I don't think
attack more.
So, but that once again is that who cares? I wasn't in it for 20% bumps.
I mean, if you look right now, what the resistance we're seeing now was the support back in December 2022. So I don't know. People get a little antsy holding onto that position. They might just kind of sell out of it now and be like, well, I'm back. Maybe I just break even, sell it out. Let's see what happens next quarter. Because he didn't give that great guidance for the year. I feel like he was honest, but he was straightforward on it. I know Palantir investors aren't used to a CEO being that clear and direct about this. Why is this guy saying facts?
One thing I gotta
what are these numbers he's throwing out?
What are these numbers? Why is he inspire me,
comments.
Badri? It's like, dude.
All I heard was 50%, 70, 45 gross margin. I'm like, where did these numbers? I'm used to the philosophical explanation of the nature of existence comes from a fundamental analysis. I'm used to that. Not used to 45% margins, whatever. Second of all, he's very uninspiring. Okay, great with numbers, and I love him. He's Indian. He has an accent, but you could be inspiring with an accent. He was just like, hello, everybody. First thing we talk about. It's just like, bro, you're just not inspiring.
I think that's xenophobia, actually.
That's not xenophobia. Shut the fuck up. This is just not inspiring. It didn't get me excited.
Well, no, yeah, Mid was getting bored during the call. He's like,
I was on my phone.
yo, I don't see any
But
poetry books.
here's the thing. It depends on what inspires you. Like I don't expect as CEO of a company to make me like feel good. I just want to know that the guy is like he gets up every day focused on his business, right? And that he cares about his people. And you see that guy's a leader, like he reminds me a lot of like even like Anthony Noto, same way. You just hear them talking, you're like, yo, people follow this guy. Like no one's stepping to boundary. He runs that ship.
The thing is, he's always he's never giving you the bullish case. He's always giving you like the realistic life version, and then it ends up beating the numbers. He usually does beat the numbers. Not this time around, not this quarter, but he usually
you
beats the
appreciate
numbers.
that because if you know that you're going to hear the real deal, doesn't that make you feel more confident putting more of your investment in there?
I like the reality of it. Yes, absolutely. Just like when we invested in TJ Rogers for Enphase, and their call is tomorrow, by the way. Enphase, if you want to cover.
Oh
them.
yeah, I'd love to. This week is I'm choked. Like,
if any of you guys want to actually listen to the call, I think I have time to listen to the call.
I just saw Gabe got blocked. Damn, man.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that.
Had to block him.
No, you know what? The reason why I think it's important when you're in the comments section, just be respectful of other people. Don't call other people idiots. Don't call other people that.
Do not do that.
Just calling us idiots is one thing, but calling other people idiots on there, like, or telling other people to shut the fuck up, that's not cool.
Yeah. No, calling anybody an idiot is not appropriate. We're here to discuss our investments.
Not cool. Yeah. Not cool.
We're also like at the end of the day, me and Amit and Chris and Carlos all have different investing sort of strategies, and I still respect them, even if we are fighting about it. No one's calling anybody.
Like I still respect them, even if they're wrong.
That doesn't matter. But I'm saying nobody's calling anybody an idiot here. So you guys in the comments, we expect the same thing, or you will be blocked. It's just not.
That is true. And one thing I can say about
it's not interesting to us.
Bucker starts trashing himself now, and he's like, "What? You're gonna kick me out to protect me from myself?"
Self-deprivation is appreciated. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Like, you can call yourself anything you want.
Shorting myself.
But we got to be respectful here, okay?
One thing I can say is in the chat, people are very respectful for I would say 99% of the chat. So when people do get super disrespectful, it's like, no, I don't care who you are. That's blocked. We're not going to tolerate that. Yeah, we're not.
Absolutely. It's just not interesting for even to read and continue the podcast because we're not doing this for any money. So we're doing it for $3 here.
It's kind of cool that there's already a finance junkies queue.
Right? All right. Moving on. Google. Chris, what were your thoughts on their earnings?
They're still a fundamentally strong company. Their business isn't nearly as impacted as a lot of people are thinking. I think we're starting to see that they are clearly a number 2 in the AI space behind Microsoft right now because of Microsoft partnership with OpenAI. I was listening to their conference call and they seem like they're with it. The only thing that concerns me and probably concerns a lot of people on CNBC, and I was looking at some other data points. They haven't cut their headcount nearly as much, considering if you look at Meta cut almost a quarter of their employees. Google still, I think, is only about 4 to 8%. And one of the things that you saw was a ton of hiring by Google. And it seems like they're not focusing on their core products right now. And seeing some of the exit interviews of employees from around Silicon Valley, there's videos out there with people actually saying, like, I had nothing to do. They hired me and I was just sitting around for like 6 months or whatever. Now that I'm laid off. And I'm just like, they really need to figure out how to do some more cost cutting. And I think they're going to do it. They just they added, I think, almost 70 billion to their buyback program because right now they're undervalued by any measure.
No. You're correct. But they bought back $70 billion worth of shares. Because Sundar did not answer a single question on 60 Minutes, and he made investors nervous. The stock went down 3% the day after that interview, and I think they need to keep investors.
No, he hasn't bought it yet. But what it is that program.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. That program is starting now.
Hold on,
I think
before
it
you
has
continue,
on top.
It's supposed to be $5 US. Just FYI.
She said
whatever, dude.
Okay, Chris, keep going there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just they're doing a lot of share buybacks right now, which is good because they're generating a ton of cash flow still right now. If that money is just sitting on your balance sheet, not doing anything, it's worthless, right? So I think what happened was Google, because it was so profitable, ended up just hiring a whole bunch of people, trying to just throw darts at a wall and hoping that one of those darts ended up hitting a target. And that clearly didn't work out for them or a lot of the other Silicon Valley type, the FANG companies. Facebook did the same thing. Amazon did the same thing.
It wasn't darts to the reason they hire those people is because they don't want the other people to get them.
Oh, that too. That is absolutely
When
true.
Meta's hiring people and making them sit, they don't want Google to have those people because they are smart
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
now in a different environment, we got to let them go.
Now, what's really interesting though is that if you looked at the All In podcast, Jay Cal pretty much put it out there that one of the things that they're seeing is a whole new breed of entrepreneur coming around, utilizing a lot of the stuff that they might have learned during their time at Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Meta to actually create new products and new programs. So, we could see a whole list of disruptive applications and disruptive software coming down the pipeline in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's going to be really interesting to see what comes along, and how Google is going to be able to hopefully monetize a lot of that stuff. Because at the end of the day, when you think about these AI programs, like Google Bard is something that they can monetize. Microsoft is monetizing OpenAI. That's why their numbers looked really good, because Microsoft is actually collecting money. I don't think it's profitable yet, but at least from a revenue perspective, it's helping their top line grow.
Did Microsoft tell? I mean, they're probably not saying this, but I'm curious how many people are paying the $20 a month? I wonder if that stat is out.
I did not check that yet, but I know a ton of people that are.
So
I know.
Yep.
You're using it, right?
Yes,
my brother. I think my brother-in-law subscribed to it. I know a ton of people that are subscribed to it. Believe it or not, I thought about getting it. It's just that right now in my current use case, the free version works for me right now. So I don't really need the extended version. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people jumping on the thing. And I think eventually there'll be a point where you're going to have to pay to use the API in your application. So it's almost like every time you can create an application that does a specific task, but if it has to rely on the OpenAI API, it'll charge you like a small toll, right? In which case, that's just super high margin revenue that's just going to come right to your door, to Microsoft's door, or to Google's door if Google becomes a really good popular number 2.
Another super chat. Look at this.
Nine Patel. I love the Patels. They make me rich.
Hold on a second. The fact that a Patel
I wish I had money, I'd make it rain right now.
Bro,
there we go.
Bro, that's bro, terrible. No, I gotta talk to
Right, you're like,
Nine
it's
Patel
a worthless
right now.
investment.
Bro, the worst thing about this.
ROI.
Okay, so the worst thing about this is Google takes 30%. Like I gave a $5 super chat to Vitaly and Chris and Carlos the other day, and I know Google's going to take 30%. So it's just fun to give the money, but Google takes 30% of it, which is so
but
annoying.
that's life, man. That's the way.
No, but that's what I'm saying. One day we do all want to start a Finance Junkies Patreon, so we don't have to deal with YouTube taking that. But
I'm thinking we move this to Twitter when they get it
no,
together.
Twitter doesn't have the audience. Twitter's not giving us 322 people. It's not happening. I love Twitter.
I was in the Whole Mars catalog Twitter space. It was like 50 people there at some point.
Whole Mars catalog is 230,000 followers.
Did you think we are Whole Mars catalog at this point?
No, but I'm saying,
he follows me too.
It's just like a random, random Tuesday. His normal thing is on Sunday, and it was actually pretty cool. It was actually
but he has 230,000 followers, Carlos. That's the difference.
But Nyan, thank you for giving the $10 donation. We appreciate that. But once again, buy Google. I think Google has a fucking bright future. They're really undervalued considering where AI could end up in the next 10 years. I mean, Microsoft too, if you want to hedge. See, people think that, if you buy Apple, you can't buy Google because they're competitors. One makes iPhone, one makes Android. Screw that. Buy both. Enjoy yourself.
No, I have Microsoft and I have Google, but more Google right now because I think it's more undervalued, but I do have both.
Do you guys know if Google is still doing that program where every employee gets like 1 day paid work a week to do their own project, and if it becomes something, then they take the IP? That's how Google Maps.
The 20% time, yes.
Is that's still a thing?
I would think so. That they should not get rid of that. That would be silly to get rid of, actually.
Interesting.
Okay, so do we want to go deeper into Microsoft, or does that kind of cover it when we're talking about Google?
I think Microsoft. We should talk about Microsoft because the leadership at Microsoft right now under Satya Nadella is just fucking monsterly performing. Like, this guy sees everything that's coming around the corner. He's doing everything right. He's literally going into sectors that Microsoft has traditionally been a very weak player at, and actually been able to penetrate that market and do very well for shareholders. So I think if there's the one company that's bucked the Warren Buffett trend, if you guys know. So Warren Buffett has this thing that says the most valuable companies 30 years ago are not the most valuable companies today. Microsoft has actually bucked that trend. Like that's one of the few tech companies.
And Apple.
And no. Apple had its down days at one point when Steve Jobs left and had to come back and everything. So remember, Apple went down to $1.
Oh.
Microsoft has never been in a position.
You're selling
they've
Windows.
been-
Every machine, it's
Well,
Windows.
hold on. They were
Apple doesn't
stagnant
have
for a
that window.
decade.
Huh?
Before Satya, they were stagnant for 10 years.
Well,
You had to wait it
well,
out.
No. So that stagnation period wasn't exactly because of their business. It's because regulators were staying on top of them the entire time because they were a monopoly. You know, they
Yeah.
had so much monopolistic power that people forget in the 1990s, they actually got hit with multiple antitrust lawsuits
Mhm.
for trying to tank Netscape. If you
Well,
guys
they did tank Netscape.
Yeah, they
killed
did.
yeah,
Netscape.
they did. Yeah.
As soon as they made Internet Explorer the default browser on Windows,
Yeah,
it was
that's it, it was
basically
over.
a wrap. Yeah, it was a wrap.
Mhm.
And they
See-
should have been broken up back then. That actually should have happened because they were obviously a monopoly.
Have they ever? I mean, has there ever been? I hear that all the time when they talk about break up, big tech. Like, I can't think of a time when that was actually successful. It sounds like it's always a
AT&T,
threat.
the bells were broken up.
Yeah.
AT&T,
Yeah.
But that
and
was,
a-
but they're
a
talking
long
about
time
a
ago.
long
60s,
time ago.
70s. Yeah.
And I
Stan-
think
yeah.
didn't they do that with the oil companies?
Standard
Standard
Oil.
Oil.
Standard Oil.
Standard Oil,
Standard
right?
Oil.
Okay, so then, but
Yeah.
other than like those two, I mean, that's like the biggest
Uh,
telecommunications and like.
I know, but it's probably coming. Honestly, I think big tech is going to have its day. I don't know when. I'm not saying it's 5 years or 10 years. I don't know, but it's going to have its day. And because imagine, okay, these are 3 trillion, 2 trillion, $3 trillion companies. In 10 years, can you imagine what these companies are going to be? They're going to control everything.
5-10 trillion.
They
Trillion.
they seem like they can already control everything.
I know, but imagine even like take this forward, like Amazon, like who just went bankrupt because of Amazon? It was
Bed Bath and Beyond.
Bed Bath and
Yeah.
Beyond. isn't it?
Well, no,
Another
Bed-
retailer is gone. Toys R Us is gone. Bed Bath is. I mean,
Yeah,
Amazon is a clear.
Was yeah.
Well, the thing is, Bed Bath and Beyond went out of business because of their own operational efficiencies and in innovating. Like the big box retailers have consolidated down to like maybe 3 or 4 major players, like the Targets, the Walmarts of the world, because they're still performing like Costco. They're still doing exceptionally well, and they've been able to challenge like Amazon supremacy. The problem with Bed Bath and Beyond is that they were losing money, and instead of actually reinvesting in their business and doing the right thing, they were buying back shares like idiots. You know, they had traffic leaving the door, and then they tried to do this whole pivot where they started to try to do their own brands, how how Target has it, and same thing. It's literally the same thing that happened with JCPenney. JCPenney tried to do a very similar thing where they got rid of their coupons and all this other stuff. So everything that people loved about JCPenney, they got rid of, and they brought in an executive from Apple because they thought, oh, this guy, he's
Right,
got
he
so
can
much
fix it.
retail experience, he can fix it. And it didn't turn out that way.
They forgot they're selling underwear.
Where do I plug the USB into this thing? You're like, ooh,
Well, I know what kind of underwear you're buying.
ooh.
All right. Should we do questions? It's already been 45
How
minutes.
long? Yeah,
Do you
it's
guys-
do that. Go ahead,
Told
Chris.
people already.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, do you guys know when Apple reports?
Good question.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
Thursday.
I mean,
I'll be very curious to see how Apple performs, only because I feel like they could be slowing down in terms of volume of phone growth. I know a lot of people, like right now, I have the
May
iPhone.
4th, by the way. May 4th.
I just want to point. We have 313 people watching now. Is this like a record?
Woo! No,
Well, hold on. Today's earnings day. People are excited about earnings, Enphase,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I hope they come back every day and we have a good show
Okay,
for
still-
them.
still-
But it is earnings.
I think it's one of our record days.
That is a lot.
Yes, we appreciate you guys being here.
Like and subscribe. Hit that bell.
One quick thing about Microsoft before we go to questions. They said AI is going to drive a lot of the revenue growth. I think someone did a command F on AI on the PDF, and it's like they said it almost 20 times. Is there a part of the business you think that hasn't implemented AI that's going to start to implement AI in a more meaningful way?
What do you mean?
As in, so they're putting ChatGPT powered stuff in like Microsoft Word and Excel. They're building ChatGPT for enterprise.
Clippy's coming back, everybody. Clippy's coming back smarter.
Oh, yeah.
Clippy is going to be smarter.
Okay, as a side question, do you find yourself actually using ChatGPT instead of search?
Yeah.
Me too, dude. Me too. Like,
Are you
not
guys keeping it
necessarily
open?
outside of-
Are you keeping open like a browser for ChatGPT?
Yeah. Well,
No,
I'm
I
using
mean,
it as a
it's
tool
now a
more than
bookmark.
just
It's not
a-
like I forgot. I was talking to someone about Enphase the other day, and I just wanted to know, like, what was Enphase's, what was Enphase revenue? You can just ask it. You could even say, like, tell me what it
Right.
was quarter over quarter, and it'll give you a disclaimer, and then it'll tell you. And I'm like, that's because otherwise you have to go like dig out and parse that data from like their earnings report.
I don't think they have the latest data though. It's still like a little bit old, 6 months
still
or
a little
old.
old.
They don't have data before 2021, which is sketchy.
Oh, okay.
Not like literally, it tells you if you ask it something, it'll say, I don't know anything basically before 2021, which is really weird.
Right. Well, I think Microsoft on Bing
There it is. Yeah,
don't.
thick cheek, September 2021. It doesn't know anything.
Well,
Before
that's ChatGPT on OpenAI. What about the Bing version of it? Did you try that? They're supposed to be using current data.
Wasn't it ChatGPT 4 right now? Because ChatGPT 3 is the last version. If you
3.5
pay,
now.
you get the access to the more later, the more newer model, which is more accurate. That's the another key differentiator too.
That's worth the $20, honestly.
Yeah.
You're paying for it to increase its IQ.
Yeah.
Listen,
No,
it's useful.
That's literally what it is.
That's actually one service I would pay for. As soon as I have a real use case for it personally, like if I was a coder or something daily, absolutely.
You know what I would say? Like the next time you want to look something up on Google, just take that same thing and copy and paste it into ChatGPT.
I've been using Bard.
Oh, okay.
You've been using Bard.
Yeah.
Okay. I think so. Google Cloud is up 30% quarter over quarter, and Microsoft Azure is up 27% as well. It was up 31% last quarter, so relative to the same growth. That I still feel, and all of us probably still feel, we're in the infancy of cloud computing. But it is going to be interesting to see, like, at what point does it truly become a commodity in terms of it's at the AWS, Google, Microsoft, doesn't matter, and do we get to a level above that? Or is there still a pretty big growth curve? And like Basecamp, for example, they took their servers back on-prem because they were tired of paying AWS costs that they didn't think were good enough. Now, not every business is going to do that, but it'll be interesting to see. Like Netflix runs on AWS, Spotify runs on AWS. They're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Spotify added like 15 million more users.
CIA has space on AWS. Like,
well, I think everybody has.
That was one of their big contracts. Yeah.
Everybody has space on AWS, but I think all big companies are using all of these services. It's not just one service. So
that's
you have to be nimble enough that if something happens to AWS, then you can trust on Google or Azure or something. There's no way a big company's betting everything on AWS. Just
Spotify the Google. No, I think Spotify's on AWS.
The thing that you're talking about, Vitaly, is something called Sky Compute, where basically it's your application stack is running on multiple clouds, right? So what it is right now, when you have cloud computing, you have cloud computing with one thing. But if you have multiple clouds, you can have something called Sky Compute. And then there's another thing where you have hybrid compute, where you can have things that are done locally, on-prem resources, and then for back-end stuff that heavier, you can use cloud resources too. So companies, believe it or not, Oracle is not a bad company to invest in. Like, a lot of people think that, Oracle is just some company that's not going to go out of business because everything is moving to the cloud. I can tell you, based on personal experience, Oracle is still a big player in the space. All right. When it comes to on-prem stuff.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Let's start off with the first question. Is ARK's 2027 $2,000 prediction on Tesla? I don't know if that's the base case. I think that's the bull. The base is like 1,500. Yeah, and bear is 700. So still like a 2x or 3x from no, it would be about 2.5x from here. Chris, what do you think? Do you think it's realistic? 2,000 in 4 years?
I didn't even take a look at that. Like, ARK is always just basically throwing pie in the sky numbers out there. I don't trust their numbers one bit. When I look at their investing, like maybe in 1 out of 20 of their investments, they've actually made a decent amount of return. They seem to be buying up things at the super, super lows and then just keep doubling down. Like, I think they more Ginkgo. Like almost a 400,000.
They're buying a lot of Ginkgo and Coinbase still. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, what logic are you guys using to buy this stuff? Because from what I can tell, they're just, no, I just honestly, I don't trust Kathy Wood and her research team anymore, based on what I've seen. Same thing.
By the way, she was right in her Tesla prediction before the bull run of 2020. So she does sometimes hit the important ones on, nail on the head.
But see, here's the thing. If you get one right, that doesn't mean that you're like the next Oracle, right? Oracle of Omaha. Like Buffett, when you look at Buffett, his hit rate is, I think, like 9 out of 10 versus her, which is 1 out of 10.
Even if it was 6 out of 10, it's more than her 2 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things that, like, okay, in terms of predicting for the future, what do you go with? And I think she's gotten used to the sensationalism a little bit, where she just wants to throw out a big number. So she gets included in like a headline, and then her fund gets more like active retail investors to jump in and throw money at it. So I don't know. I just not a big Kathy Wood fan.
All right, question, answer this. Are we done crying for Enphase? Let me answer this.
You weren't crying, Vitaly. You were buying. Right?
I am buying, but let me answer this. I told my wife not to watch the podcast, so she doesn't know how much money she lost today.
wait, hold on. But your average is still below.
Oh yeah. No, my average is still like $80 or something. So
your average is $80. Goodness gracious.
Some accounts it's $30, but let's say generally 80.
That's why you're fine with buying, because you've
I
got
have no
such
problem
a nice
buying.
average.
And I sold a lot. I don't want to say how much. I sold a lot between 270 and 330. So
there's someone that put Mr. Burry got one right, and we made a movie about it. Burry gets a lot of things right. It just doesn't like come out as much, but he's actually done very well as a portfolio manager over a long.
He did, but his big bets, his massive bets, it's won a decade.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, though, right?
Yeah,
because that's what happens. That's how it should be. Like, if you're telling me that every 6 months you've got a 10xer on your hands and you figure it out, dude, you must have like some kind of crystal ball that we have no idea about, But I think small wins over a long period of time and small consistent wins are what really make a portfolio what they are. Like the most successful one right now is Renaissance Capital. Renaissance Capital with God, I forgot his name, but dude, the guy, he understands. But when they do their trading, they do things based on just pure algorithm and math. God, I keep forgetting. I just can't recall.
Hey, I know what you're talking about. Hold on.
He went to Stony Brook. You know that his thing is right across Nichols Road. The Renaissance Technologies campus. It's right next to where we went to school, bro.
No, I know. I know his whole story, but what is his name? Sheesh.
I can't believe I forgot his name right now. Yeah.
Okay, let me get to another question. Chris rocking the red hat. Are you feeling romantic tonight?
I'm always wearing this red hat. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know. Okay, can we talk about SLG, Chris? We have to talk about that, and then we'll go back to
Jim Simmons. There you go.
Jim Simmons.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Renaissance Technology. Yeah.
Yeah. So SLG today, and same thing with a lot of other REITs, they took a little bit of a beating today. A lot of that wasn't necessarily because of anything with their particular business, but more because of the fallout with FRC. So FRC, for everyone that isn't in the know, FRC is a regional bank. They're a very large regional bank. So they essentially took a massive hit last couple of days, mainly because there was a lot of withdrawals by depositors, and so a lot of what they have to do now is they probably have to do some liquidation of assets. So when you're doing liquidation of assets, that means that you're not exactly buying assets, and you're not. And right now, what you're seeing is a general credit crunch in the market. So when you have a general credit crunch in the market, you're going to run into this thing where if you have loans that need to be refinanced, the pool of creditors that you can go to get your refinancing deals done is a lot smaller, which means that they can extract more out of you. So right now we're seeing a lot of tightening in the credit market, and because of that tightening in the credit market, a lot of these commercial real estate companies, they're a little bit exposed to that because they have debt that's coming up that they have to refinance. That's just how the game works. Like no REIT is out there right now that doesn't have debt. Everyone has debt. That's how you leverage.
That's how
yourself.
They work. That's how you leverage real estate. You got to go into debt. There's no other way.
So sometimes people are a little bit overly dramatic with, oh my God, this company has 20 billion in debt. It's like, yeah, but they got 50 billion in assets. So shut the hell up. It's not how, you can't just look at the debt and be like, oh my God, that's like, you don't go to a person's house and you see a nice house and you're like, oh, how much mortgage do you have? And it's like a really large mortgage. You're like, oh my God, you're homeless. It's like, no, their asset covers the debt. That's how the debt thing works. So
what was the comment about the cheeseburgers? Did I miss that?
I don't know.
The mother and its milk thing? That's what I was asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably
So
not.
just last thing.
Yeah.
Just last thing with SLG. So SLG is fine.
We still talking about that?
I added to it this morning. I added some more position to it this morning. I picked it up at 22 something. Like I said, over the next 4 or 5 years, this is going to be one of the better picks. I told you before, I'm not interested in this, but I agree. New York real estate is not going anywhere. And especially this stock is way, way down. Commercial real estate is probably going to make a comeback. I just think it's a long play. I don't think it's Wait,
you know.
someone said Chris unfollowed me on Twitter because I said a mean thing about Intel. I
Chris,
don't
you
even-
unfollowed someone over
Damn,
Intel?
how dare you use
What?
that?
I don't even talk
Oh.
about Intel. I don't know.
What?
Maybe you followed one of my bot accounts. I don't know,
You
dude.
do have some bot accounts.
You have a bot account?
He's like, I followed
No.
Chris Cattell.
Chris Cattell.
I-
Chris SLGL.
I
Here,
follow
I'll
Chris
add you.
Kattan.
Listen, I'll add you on live stream. Put your Twitter handle in there. I'll follow
Yeah.
you, whatever. You know.
Ranger the dog. That's actually not a bad idea. They should just both of them. They should sign them both and have them be on the same show. That would
And
actually
you unfollowed our
crush.
Palantir Weekly co-host, Chris. Chris, is the
Yeah,
Twitter thing
apparently.
going to your head? Is it going to your head, bro?
Apparently,
I
everyone
don't
thinks
think
I'm
white
unfollowed.
guys from down south get reparations. By the way, just
He's like, I'll take those reparations in Chipotle.
Okay. Questions. Let me see what else we got.
I heard a joke yesterday
Oh.
that made me laugh out loud. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
A guy was like, my girlfriend came up to me and arrested me and saying that under suspicion of being good in bed, after 2 minutes she dropped all the charges for lack of evidence. I was like, that's a good one. I'm gonna bust that one out. So there you go.
The last 10 minutes we do jokes. And maybe
Yeah.
next.
Someone asked
Doing
about
this, just walk in the bar.
Someone asked about SMCI. SMCI is going to do very well, but they took
Is
some
it down?
short-
Is it
yeah,
down?
it's down. It's down a little bit because they had some issues.
334 people watching. We're going up as
Yeah.
we keep talking.
They had
It's
some
The joke.
They
I'm
had
telling
s-
you, it was my
yeah.
joke.
They had some issues short term because of some of their supply chain stuff, but demand is through the roof. If you're seeing AI grow, this company is providing a lot of hardware specifically geared towards supporting the AI infrastructure necessary to enable Google, Microsoft, Amazon, X, Y, and Z to do what they're doing. So SMCI is going to do very well. They're still a very small market cap company. They got great products, great leadership, and they're going to grow. So I wouldn't worry about SMCI.
Okay.
I'm worried about only having 103 likes on this video. I'm a little concerned that
Yes,
there's
please like
2/3
the
of the
video.
people here.
That
We
would help.
see you.
Yeah,
We literally
man.
see you.
What are you guys thinking about Visa and Chipotle? Chipotle went up phenomenally today. How do you feel about
Chipotle was fun. Man.
Yo, Bill Ackman's a fucking legend, bro. The fact that he got Chipotle right, and that's been one of his biggest winners out of like 5 stocks for like what 7-8 years.
Yeah.
No. Hold on. I took a beating following Bill Ackman. Okay. And I'll tell you, because someone asked me, Chris, you always talk about your success. Tell me about your failure. Valiant Pharmaceuticals. I took a fucking massive L on Valiant Pharmaceuticals to the point where right now, anytime I hear someone say, hey, Chris, did you check out this pharmaceutical company? I'll be like, nah, fuck that. Not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
You have
Unless I-
PTSD.
Bro, it's hardcore PTSD. And Bill Ackman is the one that led me into that shit. So no, talk about anyone else. Don't talk about fucking Bill Ackman, bro.
I would
He's
do a reverse
legendary.
Bill Ackman. I would do a reverse Kramer. That's the best bet always.
Nah, dude. Fucking Valiant, bro. Oh God, I'm thinking about it right now. It cost me fucking 2 years of my life, man. Not doing it again.
Why'd you
All I'll say
follow him
about
into
Visa? All I'll say about Visa, Phil, who we had on the show, was screaming to me about Visa. I'm actually looking at the chart and MasterCard. He was screaming to me about Visa and MasterCard like years ago, and the returns are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
I mean, all of fintech really worked out up until like 2021.
But this was like pre, Apple Pay. This was like before it was just a credit card. Didn't even have chips in it. He was just like, dude, it's a solid thing. He's like, do you think people are gonna have less debt? And I'm like, no, but I'm not buying.
All right, last question. Rank.
No.
Google.
Hold on. I have a couple more. I'm about to text you guys something. Ackman, it's Chipotle. Sarcastically, no, it's actually called Chipotle. It's not Chipotle. I don't know what
It's Chipotle.
I don't know what you guys say about that. Rank Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Meta, worst to best. Let's do worst to best. Carlos,
Okay, so question: are you talking
Worst to
about
best.
profitability, or do you like the company? Like,
No,
or do you like
it's-
the-
the 3 factors are growth potential, company growth potential, then stock growth potential, because those two could be fundamentally different, and then the third is leadership
profitability
management.
or
Yeah,
profitability?
I think profitability is like a stock thing as well. But yeah, those just in general, if you had to buy, the question is if you had to buy one, what's
Man,
your
that's
first
a tough
pick?
one.
What's your last pick?
That's a tough one.
I mean, last one is easy. Apple. I think it's overvalued. I would buy at this point Google, Amazon, Microsoft, No. I'm sorry. Google,
You're
Amazon,
ranking them
Meta.
back. You're ranking them backwards. You're ranking them best to worst.
Oh, worst to okay. So Apple, then Microsoft, then Meta, then Google and Amazon. I feel those are the in that order.
Damn, that's a tough one.
So,
I
so
would
my
go.
Chris, let's do Chris.
no,
Carlos.
I was gonna say my methodology is usually
Enphase is
short,
not
medium,
there.
short, medium, and long. I would say in the short term, Amazon is the best play. They're still very undervalued. And then after that is Google. Then you have Meta, which is still undervalued, but getting to the point where it's fair. And then Microsoft, of course, which has gone crazy. So there, if you're talking about maybe 6 months ago, then Microsoft would have been a little bit more ahead. But Microsoft is there, and then Apple is probably way at the end of the spectrum because their PE is high, and I don't know if their business can sustain that level of constant growth. So for me right now, in the short term, I would say Amazon and Google are the most bullish. What do you call it? Microsoft is medium, and Apple is like, hey, if I want to, gift some stock to like a family member and say, here, hold it for the next 20 years, and you'll probably see a good return, is Apple.
I would
Oh,
probably.
Carlos, Carlos, go ahead. Yeah.
Man, it's really tough. It's really tough. But I would probably do Amazon. I'm saying best to worst. You got to put it back up on screen.
Sorry,
As I can't see. I would
curious.
probably put Amazon first, then Google, then Microsoft, Apple, and Meta. I mean, and I'll say this. I think Meta's in for a rude awakening with this, which is why we should talk about.
Let's transition to this. Let's have this conversation. So let me just take a break, intermission in the podcast. You guys need to. Chris will relate to this. So Indian movies are 3 hours long, and so Chris, remember there's like an intermission at the 90-minute mark every time. When I went to Indian theaters, they always had an intermission. In America, they don't have intermission where people actually go get popcorn and stuff, but in India, that's a thing. So I'm treating our podcast like an Indian movie today, except there's no musicals. So no one's singing. There's no songs. There are 327 people here. We're an hour in. I think we deserve to stay a little bit longer because we got 327 people. We can sleep a little bit later. We don't get 327 every night. We would like you guys to come back on
3:30 now. Boom.
3:30.
That's perfect. So let's do another 30 minutes. Let's do this till 11:30.
I don't know if I can, but we'll see.
No,
okay, if you can't,
come on.
if you have to go, you have to go. But I say let's try to do 30 minutes for 3:30.
Have you ever heard of the
We
thing
just
like
asked him to come back
be excellent and leave? You ever
Don't
heard
say that
that?
stupid saying you said last. You like be excellent to be
sexless,
It's
be
like, what?
excellent, and leave. That's what I
No,
learned.
because we can answer some more questions, and it's just 30 more minutes. We had to end early yesterday because we had someone come on the
Just
podcast.
three more questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
for
meet
an
Matt.
hour.
See,
So-
Matt, you can't tell him.
Okay, Carlos, why is Meta in for a rude awakening?
Hurry up! I got to pinch one off.
Why is because I kind of agree with you, Carlos, because I think if their capex on metaverse is big, because it's already gone up from 88 to 215, I don't think Wall Street's gonna like the earnings. I
don't think they're gonna like Apple getting into the fray. This is assuming that it actually happens.
That I don't think they care about. I just don't think they.
No, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying comparing to Apple. They're just not gonna like that Apple's in the game. This was Meta's space to take over. And if Apple releases anything in VR, like did you see the thing in VR that they're gonna have 3 screens? I don't know if you guys saw that.
And that's better than 2.
Huh? Well, no. What they're saying is the Apple headset is rumored to have 3 screens. The third screen is on the front, and it has a camera that in real time creates an image of your eyes, so that a person seeing you from the outside, it'll just look like you're wearing like aviator glasses. It's like it'll look see-through to them. So it sort of eliminates that barrier of people looking like. Anyway, if they see any of that, if they see any of the technologies that they feel Meta should have been first with, I think it's not good for the stock.
Vitaly, your thoughts, or let's do Chris because we know Vitaly feels. Do you think Meta's earnings are going to?
He's like, I'm buying more calls tomorrow.
I think Meta's earnings are going to suck.
No, Meta's kind of high now compared to everything else.
I think Meta's earnings are going to be actually pretty good. I mean, they've been growing their Instagram Reels. Remember, they're also going to project out confidence in their subscribers for their new service, which literally 6 months ago wasn't a thing. Now it's a thing, and everyone is subscribing to it. Imagine the amount of revenue that you're going to be able to pick up, high margin revenue from.
We
people
counted at least 6 billion, right? Last time.
Yeah. So it's a lot of positives for Meta that are upcoming. The only thing is, I would say, and this is something that probably worries everyone, they might end up facing some headwinds from restructuring costs. But that's something that like is easy to explain on a call where you're just like, look, we took X, Y, and Z hits on our bottom line because we had to pay to restructure some of our leasehold agreements. We had to do severances for some of our non-performing, for some of our employees. And so once that stuff clears off the books, I mean, this is a cash flow machine, and it doesn't look like they're slowing down on any regard. So no, Meta.
If I told you in 10 years, 2 of those companies that we just talked about are out of business, which two would you bet are the ones? 15 years. Let's go 15
out of
years.
business. None of these companies.
Yeah, like they're out of business. They're out of business. Which ones do you think?
I think the biggest problem with them is not that they'll go out of business themselves, but they'll get regulated into going out of business. So an example is Meta. Meta would probably be the one that you'd have to be the most scared of when it comes to legislation. I mean, you look at all the harm that sometimes social media does to people's psyches and brains. Eventually, people are going to say, look, we need to regulate this, and we need to regulate it to the point where we're safeguarding kids, we're safeguarding adults from a mental health crisis. We want to make sure that the algorithms are not doing X, Y, and Z. And, if you think about how Facebook makes its money, it's through tracking of data, tracking of individual stuff, and doing targeted advertising. So if you somehow are able to legislate that you can't do certain things around that, Meta could lose its entire business overnight. So imagine right now, the government just comes out and says, look, you can't do it targeted advertising anymore.
Well,
Boom,
I mean,
right there.
That's Google as well, obviously.
Well, no, but Google at least is search, which is, something that's more viable.
Right.
If you take away Facebook's ability to do targeted advertising on a per person basis, where you have all of their data and information and they're able to target you for ads, that's their entire business model.
The problem is there's no alternative other than Facebook. Like, what other engine will have a targeted advertising vehicle better than even Facebook's crappy one? That's why I feel like Facebook.
I think Chris is making the point that
he's talking about regulation.
The idea of targeted ads in that.
I know, but my point is, even if those regulations happen, advertisers will still pick Facebook, because where else will they go? What other machine is there that has some level of data on the user? Like, my point is, ad revenue can't decline.
No, the ad revenue will decline. I mean, because then you won't have.
Where will it go? Where's that money going to go? That's my question.
I don't think so. I think you're wrong, because
you're asking where's the ad spend going to go?
They still need to spend money. They still need to go somewhere, and then Facebook will still have all those people.
Exactly.
No, what I'm saying is it might end up being that their entire business model, instead of going to targeted advertising, they'll go to a more just in-your-face advertising, like how TV does it, right? Where you're watching TV and you get an ad for Dove, whether or not you were searching for soap or not, right?
Yeah, it's the shotgun. It's the shotgun approach versus the sniper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this affects Twitter. It affects Google.
But I don't think Facebook will ever turn into that bland of an advertiser. I don't think Instagram will ever be that bad. Ever to give you TV level advertising targeting. I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
Well, I mean, if you, like I said,
I know your age, for goodness sake.
No, he's stretching it out. If they can completely regulate it, he's like, let's picture 20, 30 years from now, there's massive regulation.
That's the only one that I think has some sort of consequence to it. The other ones, I don't like. Look at Amazon. You can say to a certain degree, like, unionization could affect Amazon negatively, but they'll just replace people with fucking robots. I mean, at this point in 5 years,
right? The problems that they have with the unions, that goes away. With robots.
So there's ways that each one can mitigate certain parts of their thing. And Amazon right now, if you look at it, they're not as concentrated right now with doing their own branded stuff. Now they're more concentrated on just doing third-party selling, right? And all they're doing is fulfillment. So, I don't know. I don't see as much legislation coming down to against Amazon. That I do something with Meta. Meta seems like a lot of people are concerned with civil liberties and privacy and all this other stuff. So
I am curious to see what, if any, effect Twitter has as it matures. And, Twitter 2.0. I don't know if you guys watched the interview with Tucker Carlson that Elon did, where he talked about that. He talked about Zuckerberg. He called him out like by name.
Yeah. The one he did, the Verge interview that Elon did?
No, the recent one he did with Tucker Carlson. They've been releasing pieces of it.
Oh, you mean Twitter? Yeah. He called Zuckerberg for influencing the election. Yeah.
Right, for influencing. These are just, I don't know. And also the way he was talking, like, if there was a way where, like, you got a dividend for your data, how do you think that would affect things? How do you think that would change things?
Yeah.
Like, for example, the more you use a platform, the more data you contribute, right?
It's not realistic for that to be at scale. That's the problem.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
That could actually end up being a right. I'm thinking like a consumer right.
Well,
At the end of the day, these are
If you knew you were making, look, you specifically, Amit, you're on every social media platform. You're there all the time, and you're.
Would I
kinda
love
like
them to pay me
a
for it?
conduit.
Sure, but it's a free service, and I get the benefit of attention. That's why I'm on Twitter. I get to tweet. People give me their attention. That's more than money is worth, quite frankly. Because
But if you knew how much money that was worth to them, do you think you'd still say that?
I don't think it's worth a lot. Twitter does $4 billion in ad revenue. There's 350 million users. There's not that much money per user.
Carlos is on a Twitter, Ben, that Twitter's the next YouTube. So
No. I'm just saying that, right now we're not considering it as like a player, but like, MySpace didn't consider Facebook a player.
Wait,
and so
yeah. Having said that, let's actually talk about Tucker and Don Lemon. We don't have to get political, but where do you think they go next in the context of media?
Someone made a great point that I'm guessing Tucker's going to go to Twitter. That's the only place I think he's going to be able to. They'll go to YouTube for sure, but I think eventually, if Twitter matures its video side, there's some key things that Twitter just needs. It needs to have everything that YouTube has. It needs to have everything, including like being able, long form video, commenting, the speed, being able to play all this stuff. But if it has that, I think that's a place where he would find a home. Don Lemon is YouTube.
He's going to Vimeo.
I think
Megyn Kelly's done well on
Sirius XM.
On YouTube. No, she's on YouTube.
No, she's signed to Sirius XM. They put her stuff on YouTube.
Oh, fine. But she's doing well there.
But she's not really independent. Remember, when you have a company that gives you a guaranteed upfront contract and they make money on the back end, you're not independent. Like Tucker Carlson starting his own YouTube channel, that's independence outside of YouTube, right? Obviously.
Right. But do you think that he would go like that route, like be independent?
Well, that's what he got 3.2 million people a night. 3.2 million. We have 334, which I'm so grateful for. 3 million.
Like that's 1,000, 10,000 X.
Now, here's the question. Do we think those 3 million would subscribe to him? Because a lot of them are a little bit older. They don't care about YouTube. They're in their 50s and 60s, right? That demographic. I don't know how.
No, Fox News plays in the background of all these houses. I've been in these houses. It's just on. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but
is it your house? Is that
actually no? Vitaly and I listen.
I just leave it on in the background just to listen to my people.
So that's why your son, when he was on stream today, he was talking about the election. It was stolen. All that's why.
Yeah, that's right.
No shit. Tucker on Rogan would break YouTube.
Oh my goodness, Tucker.
Probably it might happen. It might happen. Yeah.
But Vitaly and I were talking about this because I think we were on the phone when the news dropped. Remember, like the tweets. Yeah. It was like Don Lemon.
I was like, what's going on? I had no idea what was happening.
Same day. So my take was that I think that's sort of the end of the biased mainstream media. I don't think any journalist is going to stick their neck out anymore. I think you're going to see a real like neutralization of mainstream media news, and the only place you're going to get the extremes are the social platforms. So how would you risk it? What network would want to risk that sort of exposure to a $790 million settlement?
What website do you guys think this is? This is their traffic from January to February to March. What website?
Well, you showed that it was Rumble. So.
I didn't want. I thought you guys would have noticed. Okay,
Rumble's garbage. I mean, Rumble's garbage.
What? Rumble's garbage?
Yeah, it's kind of weak.
You know, they just signed some of the biggest YouTubers to exclusive deals.
I mean, okay, but all those people have their own. Like you
just so you know, you're losing people fast. Just so you know.
Why do you think Rumble's garbage? I agree. The user interface, it kind of sucks, but
I don't like
on the App Store.
I know. I don't. Okay, that's fine. But me personally, I don't like feeling I'm in an echo chamber. And
I think Rumble's an echo chamber.
Well,
yeah, they promote conservative content.
Carlos, what was that Reddit channel you told me you get your news from?
I'll link it to you privately.
No, you should tell us that. It's an actual news site, right?
It's got a very scandalous name, but it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, what is it called?
Pretty good news. You know.
I don't remember actually, but what was it?
Yeah, right.
It's called ARD/4chan. That's what.
No, anime titties. It's actually called anime titties. It's a subreddit.
Anime titties, goodness.
Yeah, you get.
Okay. Carlos gets his news from 4chan.
No, that website I was telling you about is just bring it up right now. I mean, allsides.com.
Allsides.com.
Yeah, allsides.com. It's a very interesting model to get your news. Check it out.
Is this this is something that's kind of sad at this point. I saw on Twitter that Gabe is going off on us apparently, and he went off on me. Yeah, and one of the things he's going off on, he says to me like, I was doing because I told him I would do 10 episodes with him because he wanted to do a podcast together. I said, okay, fine.
I'll do a 10 episode deal without consulting with us.
Hold on.
Yo, no. I'm not being mentioned in his going off.
This is before you guys. No, and one of the things I told him, I said, listen, I am changing my shift. Like I'm moving my shift. I can't do this during the daytime. You guys know it. I reached out to you guys and I said, look, I have more free time at night. I'm working from home now. So he feels personally slighted that I'm not doing a pod with him. Come on, man. Just
why
chill
are you
out,
bringing
dude.
this? You know, like why are you bringing it back?
Yeah.
to
No, but
that?
he's calling me out on Twitter about it. He's like, oh, you're a liar.
Dude,
You have no honor.
Dude, just block him. Block him.
But
if
I'm Chris, it's not so much that he doesn't want to see that. You don't want that going out there. Like your reputation is.
Yeah,
No,
look,
I
I didn't even want to bring it up on the live stream, but you brought it up, Chris. Look, at the end of the day, to just air out the quote unquote dirty laundry, Gabe was saying a lot of rude stuff in the chat. We didn't want that because a lot of people were getting annoyed by it.
Yeah.
We blocked it. We put him in timeout to just relax. I don't care if you're my friend. You can, if I'm saying some crazy shit in the chat, yeah, you're going to be in a timeout. And then he goes on Twitter and he starts saying, Amit is stupid. Chris is
shared
stupid.
my DMs. This guy's sharing my DMs now.
He's tweeting your DM. Yeah, he's on a bit of a rampage. Gabe is someone.
What are my DMs? Now I need to know what I said to him. I don't even remember.
Gabe is a bit erratic at times.
I hope you didn't send him some gifts.
Gabe will be back
in
in
my
these, Gabe will be
pics.
in these live streams and my videos like in the next couple of days. Gabe is I know Gabe. You know why I know this? Because there was a guy who completely ripped him to pieces on a live stream in Vegas. I told him, hey, stay away from him. He's bad. And he just goes into his stream every single day. He's watching his content. Chris, you know who he is. And it's the nature of who Gabe is. But nonetheless, this is also what happens when you get a little bit of a fan base. People, start to say, wow.
The thing is, I like the guy. I think he's actually very smart. He knows what he's talking about.
Yes,
but
he's one of the smartest guys ever. But socially, sometimes he's just very rude and mean. That's the issue.
Yeah,
and he knows this. He's admitted this.
Yeah, but that's honestly, the thing. Like,
I just forget. Just forget it. Just ignore it.
Yeah, why are you guys continuing to?
He'll punch himself out. I think it's silly to attack. We're all just like regular. That's what I don't understand. We're just like regular people.
Yeah.
We're not like we all. I don't know. I have a job.
We're not influencers. Like
we're not influencers. We're just like
speak
regular.
For yourself, buddy.
I got 297 people.
There's Vitaly coming in with that humble pie, bro.
Yeah, dude.
I got 330 people here for me, buddy.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm
the only one with a check. Okay, I don't even know if you guys are you.
Let's end the Gabe topic with we all love Gabe. At the end of the day, he's still a friend, in my opinion. But if you want to go rampage to rampage, then sure, go ahead. I mean,
and social media.
But by the way, he wrote "You're dead" to me for you.
He just told me. Oh, he just texted me to go.
He wrote "You're dead" to me.
Okay.
Said, I'm go fuck yourself. I like the message. I was like, this sounds like a good idea. You got anyone to think about while I do it?
Oh my god.
All right, we gotta go. We gotta move on. I think we've answered all the questions.
Yeah, we went full circle.
Basically, don't let the scorpion ride on your back, otherwise you might get stung. And that's his advice to us. So there you go, Gabe. We're not gonna let you ride on our back.
And on that note, hit like, subscribe, tune in to see us again.
Appreciate it.
Do the same shit tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.